Captain Forest here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win, more often not in a inverse setting, Yuji versus Megumi. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also a huge shout out to Niotic and Debater, who were very helpful in this video, so huge shout outs to both of them. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead, lay down the rules, the stipulations, and talk about how I'm going to go about this inverse matchup. So I will be using Yuji and Megumi from the Shibuya arc specifically. There will be no Sukuna included and no Mahoraga. He will not be included either. We will be strictly looking at what both combatants bring to the table in terms of their base form, their arsenal, skills, abilities, etc. So when it comes down to determining who would win more often not during the Shibuya arc, we have to take a look at what both Yuji and Megumi have done during that time. I'll start off with Megumi, I'll touch on Yuji, and I'll talk more about who would win more often not in an inverse setting. Both Yuji and Megumi face off against an old man. Both were shown to shine in respective departments. Yuji shows incredible power with his attacks, and Megumi demonstrates his nimbleness and combat reaction to the old man's attacks in comparison to Yuji, who was tagged by him a couple times, giving us an idea that Megumi is slightly faster than Yuji to some degree. Megumi himself has shown to face against powerhouses and swift opponents such as Toji, as Megumi was able to somewhat react and avoid some attacks from Toji with the use of his Shikigami, his tactics, planning, and the use of his prediction to help him minimize the damage to his body after getting stabbed in an area that wasn't vital. We see more showings from Megumi using his multi-step plans against Todo with the use of both Nue and Frog to set up a trap on Todo, whilst also trying to get rid of his strengths. Now lastly, we see Megumi get into a domain tug of war with Dagon with the intention of opening a hole in it, which he succeeds in doing so. This is incredibly impressive for Megumi, as it means his domain was strong enough to not be easily washed away by Dagon's more complex domain, though he was at his limit. Megumi has his Shikigami at his disposal, he has his 10 Shadows technique, he has access to his Shikigami such as Nue, which is used for certain tasks such as transportation, fence, and also for defensive means. He's shown to fly around and also shoot lightning. Now let's move on, talk about totality. Now unfortunately for one of his twin divine dog, it was killed by a special grade curse. However, there are still advantages for a Shikigami summoner, as the fallen Shikigami that have died will leave behind its curse energy, which the other Shikigami will inherit, and by doing so makes it incredibly faster and stronger, becoming divine dog totality. And Megumi will summon totality to rush down opponents, bite, impale, or slash his opponents with its claws. Megumi can summon frogs, which use their tongues to grab onto people or the opponent to restrain them or throw them into walls. Megumi can also summon Max Elephant, which shoots out a giant wave of water at the opponent, pushing them back with great force. Megumi also likes to summon Max Elephant in the sky, as it falls down and lands onto the opponent with great force. Megumi can summon bunny rabbits, which are used to swarm the opponent to buy Megumi time in situations. So that's going to round up Megumi. I'm going to go ahead and address some feats for Yuji, talk about some of the inverse feats that he's showing throughout the JJK verse. During Yuji's fierce battle with Chozo, Yuji is able to diverse a plan to dodge Chozo's piercing blood attack and manages to get in close. He showcases extremely good analysis while implementing it into his plans. Even when hit by Chozo's blood meteorite, Yuji is still able to keep fighting, controlling his fears and instead directing it to his curse energy, showing incredibly good curse energy control while remaining calm. Chozo also blocked 3 hits from Yuji, which made his entire body throb, which did a lot of damage. Now there's a statement from Sukuna stating that Chozo is inferior to Yuji. This statement becomes valid due to Yuji's fight with Mahito. He is shown to physically damage and outskill Mahito. Yuji throughout the fight would take a lot of punishment and some off-guarded attacks from Mahito, and despite being mentally nerfed and battered, Todo and Yuji team up against Mahito, and with the use of Black Flash, it brought out 120% of his potential. When Yuji begins to gain the upper hand and wear down Mahito, Mahito takes on a form called Instant Spirit Body Distorted Killing, which this form greatly increases Mahito's durability to the point that Yuji's physical attacks do no damage, but despite this, Yuji's Black Flash is still capable of damaging Mahito, because without it, Yuji would have been torn to shreds, and due to Yuji's skill, endurance, and black flashes, he was able to defeat Mahito. So now that I've addressed all of these things, I'm going to pretty much break down who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. So in terms of win cons, right off the bat, Yuji's main advantage going into this fight against Megumi would be his physical attack potency, skill, and combat efficiency. It's pretty safe to say, and it's very evident, that when we compare both Megumi and Yuji far outclasses Megumi in the strength department. Megumi lacks in the strength department due to the lack of feats that don't measure up to Yuji's in terms of physicality. In fact, when we compare both Megumi and Yuji's fights with Todo, Megumi was getting sent to Suplex City by Todo and physically dominated, and if it weren't for Megumi's quick thinking and multi-step plans to subdue Todo with his toads, his Shikigami, he would have been finished. Whereas Yuji's fight with Todo is a complete night and day difference, as Yuji fares extremely well against Todo, as Yuji is able to physically damage Todo, and Todo even admits that Yuji is faster and is also backed up in their battle against Mahito. Megumi even concedes that if it came down to just raw physical strength and no curse energy involved, Yuji would mop the floor with Maki, Todo, himself, Panda, and Togi. So essentially, when it comes down to win cons, Megumi is essentially the Pokemon trainer that has to rely heavily on his Shikigami and his own tactical and strategic prowess to keep him in the game, whilst Yuji is the little Mac that has to rush down and use his skill and knock his lights out. Megumi in this situation would have to rely on his Shikigami for offense and defense, such as summoning bunnies, which would slow down Yuji initially to buy Megumi time to run away and strategize so that he can try and come up with ways to put Yuji in a situation where he's vulnerable via the environment around him. But ultimately, Yuji would be able to get through all the bunnies. The other Shikigami, such as the toads, would definitely be helpful in subduing Yuji for a brief moment. Max Elephant could possibly take out Yuji if he isn't on guard, but if Yuji is on guard, Yuji would honestly lift up or BFR or punch Max Elephant away, and Totality would be another threat that Yuji would have to deal with, as Totality's claws are able to slice through Hanami's skin, and Hanami has insane durability feats, so if Yuji was to get into a scrap with Totality, he would have to be wary of his claws and even his bite. However, I don't think Totality would be able to land any hits on Yuji due to Yuji being far more skilled, with that being combined with his AP. Totality would simply get outskilled and battered. As the best case scenario for Megumi's Shikigami Totality would probably trade with Yuji, but Totality would still get body slammed. Nue is an interesting one as it can shoot out lightning, and that could be an issue due to lightning having durability negation, and that could definitely slow down and stun Yuji, potentially paralyzing him. And Megumi could take to the sky with Nue to help him gain the distance, and he could try, using range attacks. However, Yuji himself can leap to tall buildings and parkour from high places just fine, so he could close the distance. I really don't see him getting too far away from Megumi. The cursed tools that Megumi has in his arsenal are no match for Yuji, destroy them with no effort, but once Megumi's plan starts to falter and his Shikigami are taken out, even if we talk about a last ditch effort from Megumi to try and use all his teachings, use his precognitive abilities just like he did with Toji, I don't think it's going to be enough. Yuji would simply proceed to finesse, outskill, and one-shot Megumi with or without Black Flash, and if he gets hit with Black Flash, it's even more of a one-shot. So this fight, it's close in a lot of regards depending on how we go about the fight, and inverse, they both have win cons, they both have unique ways to take each other out. However, Yuji ultimately wins more often than not, just due to having better feats, having better skill, and he has ways to deal with opponents. So more often than not, I've got to give this to Yuji. Say maybe mid-high or maybe even a high diff potentially, if you want to entertain the inverse and in-character arguments for both combatants. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. It's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.